Stages Houston is always putting on amazing performances, and Das Barbecue is no different. This comedy is going to have you stomping your feet, slapping your knees, and laughing out loud. It reimagines Wagner's epic music drama, The Ring Cycle, as a hilarious Texas hootenanny. By the way, I've always wanted to say hootenanny out loud. Say it with me, hootenanny. Das Barbecue is playing now through June 1st, so get your tickets and watch 5 incredible actors transformed into over 30 outrageous characters. Hold on to your hats, y'all, and get your tickets at stageshouston.com today. Want to make a real difference in just 1 hour? Join the Harris County chapter of Gals Who Give on May 13th for their quarterly event from 7 to 8 p.m. at 249 West 19th Street in Houston. This is really cool. All you have to do is bring a blank $100 check, nominate a local nonprofit, then 3 charities are randomly selected to present, and 1 will walk away with the full pot. And you'll get a tax receipt. Join them and make a real change. Learn more at galswhogive.org and click on the Harris County chapter in the upper right. Today on CityCast Houston, we're digging into Mayor Whitmire's new budget, plus stories that made us happy this week. It's Friday, May 9th. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. All right, I've got Monique Welch with me, diverse communities reporter with the Houston Landing. Monique, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Of course, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me again.
And we've got Charles Blain, conservative commentator, and just provides so much insight when it comes to numbers. Charles, this is like your type of day. We're going to start with Mayor Whitmire's big budget proposal. And, you know, we've been hearing about it, that he is going to balance it, and we had our first look at it. And this really started, Charles, with the HPD contract that would give officers a raise. And the big question from all that was, like, how is this going to impact the budget that was already in a deficit? Well, as I mentioned, the new budget proposal from Mayor Whitmire was unveiled. There's about $75 million in cuts in spending, and council members have started asking questions. Charles, are you asking any questions? What stood out?
Yeah, I mean, so much has stood out of this budget. This is probably the 10th or 11th one I've watched for the city. And it's really interesting because it's the first time that they've closed a deficit without leaning on asset sales and federal relief aid and things like that. He did pull from a reserve fund to fill the budget gap, but it's the first time that they didn't lean on these other resources to do so. And so what's interesting is with that $74 million cut, if they did not factor in the police raises, it would actually be $122 million that they were able to find in efficiencies from this Ernst & Young study that we've talked about on your show before, and that the city's been hearing about the efficiency study. But then when they added in the police pay raises, then it brought it down to $74 million of cuts. So, I mean, it's significant. And I think taxpayers should at least be happy that there's no fines, fees, or tax increases in it.
Yeah. So one last thing on that, like, I'm kind of confused about this, right? Because the budget is bigger than last year by about $160 million. And the budget overall is about $7 billion, if that matters to everyone. So I've been reading up on this, and there's still a gap, though, right, of $107 million that the city is going to be facing. So is it truly balanced? Like, explain that to me, please.
So that's what's interesting about it is when you look at all of the budgets for the city of Houston, they're required to pass a balanced budget. But balanced budget and structurally balanced budget are 2 different things. And so they did balance it by pulling $107 million from their savings account, essentially.
Okay.
But structurally balancing it would mean that they have reduced costs permanently where their expenses would come in under their revenue. And so they have not done that yet. So we're still pulling from reserve funding.
Okay, gotcha. So it's balanced because we're using some of our city's savings, but obviously we can't do that every year. Monique, anything stand out to you with this budget proposal or any of the cuts?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me, I was reading my colleague Hannah Holt's story, and just how much is going to public safety and particularly police department and fire department. I mean, it shouldn't really come as a shock, but to be honest, it still did for me. Just that number, it's roughly more than 58% of which of the budget is going to go toward the police and fire departments. And of course, that's in line with the approved contract with the firefighters union that we all know about and a proposed contract with the police union. And Mayor Whitmire says it's really to kind of shore up some of those vacancies and prevent some of the overtime, which we know is a big issue. But man, I mean, to me, that's just a lot of money dedicated. And to me, public safety doesn't just include law enforcement, public safety. When we look at our communities, when we look at, the ongoing trash issues that we have. We look at the infrastructure. We look at the bike lanes that are being ripped up. To me, it's just a lot of that money is being dedicated to just one aspect of public safety.
Yeah, Charles, did that stick out to you as well?
It didn't, only because public safety's eaten up so much of the budget for so long. And we keep hearing this conversation for the first 8 years, all 8 years of Turner's term. Firefighters were complaining they were underpaid. We've heard the police saying they were underpaid. So it doesn't surprise me that so much of the budget is eaten up by public safety. And I just don't know how moving forward we sustain that, because what we do know is that a lot of cops still want pay raises. The job they feel is harder than it used to be. So they're having a harder time recruiting people. So you've got to incentivize it more. And so at a certain point, you can't keep incentivizing. So what do you do then? And I think that's the next question that this city and every city is really going to have to face.
Yeah, overall, like public safety is a huge concern for Mayor Whitmire. That was one of the big things that he was running on during his election. And even though the numbers were showing that, major crimes and serious crimes were down at the time, and I get it, like numbers can say anything, right? But you just look at the overall perception of safety in the city. Even the last Kinder poll, that was a big thing that stood out. It looks like public safety is going to be the number one thing to watch out for here in the upcoming years for the city of Houston, going from top down to what the public is feeling. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think, last year we had that whole 250,000 case shelving scandal that was going on. There's a constant issue with the Forensic Science Center and the resources that they need to be able to address those issues. So I do think this is going to be an ongoing conversation. And as we continue to grow as a city, we're going to be leaning more heavily on resources. And I'll just make a note that there is a bill pending in the legislature that would require the Harris County Toll Road Authority to give 30% of their excess revenue to the city of Houston for public safety. So if that does get approved this legislative session, that could alleviate some of the burden.
Really? I mean, another shocking thing to me is that, again, 58% of the budget goes toward that. The whole purpose of this is to try to see where the city could save money. But actually, if you look at this budget, if it were approved, the total budget increases by about $160 million compared to the current year. Yes, the general fund spending would go down some, but if you look at it, we're really not saving that much money.
Yeah, and this is where a lot of the questions are going to start popping up because the budget cycle is officially underway. Controller Chris Hollins had his first look at it. There's been a lot of tension between Chris Hollins and, of course, Mayor Whitmire going back to that firefighter deal. But he had no hand in this. There was no partnership. There seems to be a lot of tension. Charles, what do you think happens here? Is this a budget that is going to just get torn up by Chris Hollins and there's going to be a lot more questions? Or is this one that maybe is a good starting point for both Chris Hollins and Mayor Whitmire to work and solve this?
Well, I definitely think we're going to see a lot of fireworks over the next couple of weeks. A few weeks ago, Controller Hollins was speaking before council, and I can't remember what the conversation was about, but the budget did come up, and he said that at the end of the day, he has to certify it, and if he can't be assured that the money is there, he doesn't know if he can certify it. So that was kind of like dangling a little carrot there, but we do still have the budget workshops and city council member amendments, and so we're going to be seeing a lot of changes or potential changes to the budget as they put forward their amendments, and so we don't know what the final product's going to look like just yet.
I'll be honest, I never cared too much about the budget. It just felt like it was one of those things that, got brought up in city council meetings, it got done. But now this added layer of drama between how much tension there is between Mayor Whitmire and Chris Hollins, it's like must-watch TV almost, right, Monique?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree. It's so hard to predict how this will shape out, just given the track record between these two. I don't think that will be a quick process by any means. I think Chris Hollins is going to drag it out and take every bit of time to truly dig into the weeds and examine this. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back with a slew of questions, as we've seen before. So like you said, it's become a reality TV for me.
Any final thoughts, Charles?
I just think people should be involved. We got budget workshops and they're boring and they're long, but it's your money and you should be paying attention to what's happening. So I encourage people to just take a look at what's going on and ask questions if you have them.
Yep, this is a story that we're going to be watching here in the upcoming weeks, and definitely a lot of interesting things yet to come from this budget cycle. H-Town really comes alive in spring, and especially in the heart of our city, downtown Houston. There's so much to do, so grab your crew and explore everything downtown Houston has to offer. From their vibrant parks to their sizzling food scene, and of course, those amazing free outdoor events all season long. Want to just gather the family and hang out like I enjoy doing? Downtown Houston has you covered. Head to Market Square Park or Trebley Park for kid-friendly games, movies under the stars, and so much more. To really be in the know, text downtown to 56512, where you'll find maps, the best parking spots, special events, and more. You can also find all of the fun and free events at downtownhouston.org. Spring is here, so come eat, play, and explore in downtown Houston. Get revived and energized in downtown. We're all looking for a perfect Mother's Day present, so let me tell you about the Aura frame. It was just named the best digital frame by Wirecutter, and I got one for my mom, and she's not that tech savvy, but it was a breeze for her to set up. The best part, once she was connected to the Aura app, all of my siblings and so many cousins all over the country, we started sharing photos with mom right away. Pictures of grandkids, memories from our childhood, and even one from my cousin's wedding where my mom and dad fell asleep during the ceremony. Yeah, I'm definitely keeping that off of Instagram. The picture and video quality is second to none, and Aura frames look good all around the house. Aura has a great deal right now for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's AURA frames.com. Promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, let's get to our overlooked stories of the week. Monique, what was a story that was overlooked?
Yeah, for me, it's a story by my colleague, Elena Briss. She's been doing a series of examining Houston's ongoing trash problem. And the first of that series was a really good take, just looking at how dating how long back this issue goes and just the complaints of trash, particularly in the East Houston area. There's been this never-ending debate over trash and waste operations in the area, which have disproportionately impacted Black and Brown communities in places like, of course, East Houston. Residents have complained about the smell, but also just the amount of illegal dumping of garbage that just by being so close to a landfill that they fall victim to. And a smell that, of course, turns into a public health issue, right? Who wants to smell trash all day, especially on hot or muggy days that we all know we have and are coming up here in Houston. And so these issues just kind of over time have been snowballing, and they're only getting worse. Houston, as the nation's fourth largest city, is expected to produce 5.4 million tons of waste annually by the year 2040.
Oh, wow.
That's up more than 1 million tons from 2020. So if you think about how much trash we're going to see in the next 10 to 15 years, we really have to start doing something about this now.
Yeah.
But the city, of course, we just talked about the budget. It's not something that is on their radar, but really experts are saying that they need to start looking at this issue now. And the city is quickly running out of landfill space. That's another issue.
Yeah, because there's only 5 right now.
Right.
Yeah, there's only 5 landfills. And as you mentioned, there are more people, there's more trash, and this is a problem that is impacting residents of the city, and especially in the east side, as you mentioned. 5 waste landfills, and there is one that is being worked on right now, but the process to get that done takes about 10 to 15 years with the permitting, the studying,
Exactly.
and the impacts, of course, in the neighborhood that it's going to be. So there's just a lot of things being done. That process is in year 5 right now. So like this better happen or it's going to be
We're running out of time.
We're running out of time because, as you mentioned, by 2040, we've got an expected 5.4 million tons of waste to deal with. This is crazy, Charles.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. I mean, especially when you lay it out like that. And with the process taking that long, you can see other problems that come up because we're growing as a city. We're building more. You're going to have new communities that are around this landfill probably in about 5 years who are then going to complain about this landfill being built. And so then that probably further delays it. And so, I mean, you see these stories all the time of the contractors who are just dropping off stuff that they're mucking houses and just dumping it in these communities. And it's just 4 or 5 feet high and rats running through it. And who wants to live like that? Who should live like that? I don't know what the city could do. They should do something, maybe starting to increase fines and fees for these contractors who are doing this. You know, they have the flock cameras that watch license plates, like maybe catch it. I mean, I don't know. Something needs to be done because clearly it's an issue and it's not an issue for everyone. And I think that's probably why it isn't, top of mind all the time.
Yeah, Monique, that's the big thing, right? Like there is a direct tie between us running out of landfill space and illegal dumping. As you mentioned
Right.
earlier, this is a big thing. Like these are connected issues, as Charles just laid out as well. We have to figure this out because this would solve many things.
Right. I mean, you think about it, it's happening already. So if you imagine that much more waste to come by 2040, illegal dumping is already an issue around Houston, not just in East Houston. So we have more, we're running out of landfill space already. Where is all this going to go? It's going to go in these neighborhoods, right?
Mhm.
And what is the effect of that on communities, on public health, on just, it affects so many different things. And I love in this article, she pointed out, one way that the city could fix this is composting, a more sustainable
Yeah.
form of waste disposal. It can save about 50% of the waste from the landfills.
Oh, wow.
Of course, however, it's a funding issue. The Houston Waste Management Department has little money to fund that innovation. And like you said, Charles, experts say a fee for trash collection is highly recommended to fund these projects like composting. But again, that's something that is just not top of radar right now for the city. The city has to approve the fee, but no serious action is being taken.
And we're the only major city in the state of Texas that doesn't incorporate some kind of trash pickup fee.
It's
So
embarrassing.
there's money right there sitting that could improve the quality of life for everybody. And maybe it's just one of those things, Charles, we're spoiled as Houstonians, like we're just never going to do this, seems like.
We do get a lot of things like that other cities don't, and I think it's worthy of a conversation. And years ago, it was brought up by one council member, and he really was on a kind of tirade to implement it, and there was just no appetite for it.
Mhm.
And so maybe there's appetite for it now, or we could end up doing what New York did when they had too much trash, they built Staten Island, and so we can just put it off the coast of Galveston and build an island.
Oh, don't do that to Galveston. What are we doing? Come on, not Galveston. Maybe we can figure out a way to get the Ike Dike and a new landfill done together, right?
Exactly.
Like,
Yes, exactly.
2-for-1 right there. Charles, your overlooked story is overlooked, but it's actually one of the biggest stories that has impacted the city here for the last 2 years, and that's Harris County Jail. Um, it's because of the number of inmates that were dying, and we've done episodes with Lucio Vasquez at the Texas Newsroom about those in custody dying in out-of-state prisons, but we have an update on that. What is the latest with Harris County jails?
Yeah, so this is really interesting. I think we've all heard the stories of the Harris County Jail having to outsource inmates to prisons out of state and some in state. And so they've consistently been hit by the Texas Commission on Jail Standards for overcrowding, understaffing, all these conditions in the jail that don't live up to state standards. And so now the Texas Commission on Jail Standards is ordering Harris County Jail to start looking for more contracts for in-state prisons to ship these inmates to, because they can, I think there's about 12 or 1,300 inmates that are currently spread out because they're outsourced, because we just can't keep them in there. And it's about $50 million that they're spending to outsource these inmates. And so we'll see what happens. There have been a lot of stories about when they're in the Louisiana jail or the Mississippi jail, while they're supposed to hold them to the same standards, issues have come up. There's also issues with them engaging with their legal counsel when they're so far away, having to be transported back for court dates, all these things. And so it's probably best that they do look in state, but we'll see how easy that is.
This is a major thing, but how is this going to actually happen, Charles? Because my understanding is there's not enough staff to handle more inmates across these jails in Texas. Funding is going to be another issue. How is this going to work? I know they're recommending this, but is it feasible?
That's the big question. The Harris County Sheriff's Department asked the commission for some support in this effort. Jailers across the state are underpaid, and we're short of them. And the backdrop of all this is that the Harris County Sheriff's Office, which operates the jail and the Sheriff's Department, is asking for more money from Commissioner's Court because they feel they are underpaid, especially after this Houston Police Department raise. They're really underpaid. And so you have all these competing interests. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a heavy task. And I don't know how they fix that situation. I really don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, Charles, and that's the other side of things, like the competing interests, the new contract for HPD, how that impacts the Sheriff's Department. There's just so much. And there's a lot of work left to be done right now.
There is, and I think people really should take interest in this because, yes, you have the inmate conditions that are a problem, but it's also a problem for the jailers who are in there as well. They're going to be outnumbered. They have been outnumbered. We've seen stories of jailers being attacked. And so as long as this remains a problem, then everyone's going to be in danger, and we're always going to have an overcrowded jail. And so I think it's something that the county really needs to take seriously.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
All right, let's get to our moment of joy or a story that made us happy because it's Friday. Let's end on a high note. Monique, let's start with you. Give me your moment of joy.
Yeah, it's not a particular story, but
Yeah.
I'm so happy I finally secured my A1s, which, if you're not familiar, Asia Wilson released her debut signature shoe this week on Tuesday. I was stressed because 9 o'clock on the dot, I was on it. It's like I was confident I was going to get them. I had a gift card on Nike that I've been saving to use since my birthday, like literally months ago. And of course, 30 seconds, it was like sold out. And I was like, you have to be kidding me. I'm not even like a sneakerhead in that way, but I'm a super, super big like Asia Wilson fan, a huge WNBA women's basketball fan. So to me, I'm like, man, like, there are a lot of people kind of just now joined the bandwagon. And I'm like, why couldn't she release these like 2 to 3 years ago, when us true OG fans were like waiting for this. But anyway, my misery is over. I finally got them yesterday morning. And so all is well. I'm happy.
That's awesome. Asia Wilson, one of the most popular WNBA players. And, you look around the city of Houston and you go to basketball courts.
Mhm.
I've seen an increase, right? I have a 10-year-old daughter who plays sports. And I've seen an increase in girls playing basketball, volleyball, right? More sports, but not only an increase, but like wearing WNBA players' shoes, right? Sabrina Ionescu, who is a popular player as well, she has some popular shoes. And it's so cool to seeing Houston girls wearing these shoes. And it's funny you bring this up, right? Like the WNBA, which is the Women's National Basketball Association, has the deepest roots here in the city of Houston with the Houston Comets, right? Like they won so many championships to start that WNBA league, and we don't have a WNBA team. So it's one of those things, like every time I go to Toyota Center, I look up and I'm like, yeah, that's right. Like there's such a deep legacy here. So this is also a calling, like bring them back. Let's go.
I've been the biggest advocate. Hey, I mean, if I had the money, I would have made it happen a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still to this day, like no WNBA team has come even close to the dynasty that the Houston Comets has. And for me, I used to play basketball. There was no star that had a shoe back in my day. It sounded like I'm like an old head, but when I was playing basketball there, I had to wear like men's shoes. There was no like WNBA star that had a signature shoe. So for me, it's a moment of joy
Actually, Cheryl Swoops did. I'm going to pause you there, Monique. She did, but it never got popular enough to like where everyone was wearing them like they are now with WNBA players.
Right. So this is like a moment of joy. It's truly like a homecoming for me. Yeah, I don't play as much as I used to, but to me, like I deserve this. So I had to go and get it as soon as I could.
That's awesome. Picked up the latest shoes, Monique. Hopefully we'll see you back on the court. Maybe we'll get some one-on-one in, okay?
I got to sign up for a league now. I got to put in the work, dust them off a little bit.
Charles, what was your moment of joy?
Yeah, so mine came from City Hall this week. City Secretary Pat Daniels retired after 41 years in the city secretary's office. She'd been the city secretary for about 8 years, and she was the first Black city secretary ever in the city of Houston. And so it was just really nice to see all her employees came and kind of cheered her on. But one of the council members made the point in saying that, you really do have to celebrate it because not everyone gets the opportunity to celebrate their retirement. They might work until they die. And so for her to be able to be the first Black city secretary, enjoy that time, do a good job while she's there, and then now enjoy it and ride off into the sunset, I thought it was nice to watch.
Yeah, and the city secretary is such an important role because, she was managing the agenda for meetings. She was making sure everything was recorded correctly,
Yeah.
and just her hand was in almost everything. But she was part of that 1,000 employee pool that accepted the buyout from Mayor Whitmire that helped lower the budget deficit that we talked about earlier in the show.
Mm.
And that's where it gets kind of complicated for me. Like, maybe she wanted to, keep going, right? After 41 years, and maybe she really enjoyed the job. And she said that she loved this job, but that buyout was there. So it's like, I'm kind of torn in like, what if she wanted to keep working, but
Yeah.
kind of that pressure of that buyout was there?
Yeah, I mean, it's pressure and it's tempting when you're offered a kind of a check or you don't really know what the future holds. I think a lot of people opt to go with that, and so I hope that it was out of desire rather than out of feeling pushed. But yeah, you're right. It's a unique circumstance.
Yeah. My moment of joy, this is going to start kind of sad at first, but I promise there's some joy in this. So if you haven't heard, we talked about it before on the show, but the Houston Landing come next week. It's going to be in its final days. And Monique, of course, the diverse communities reporter at the Houston Landing. When I saw the news, I was heartbroken because I love the work y'all are doing at the Houston Landing. And I've come to call you a friend, Monique, and it was hard to take. And I know it's been even harder for y'all as employees of the Houston Landing. We have a full episode planned next week where we will celebrate all the work and kind of where it went wrong, right? Like something that was out of your control as a journalist there. So we have a full episode that is going to explain all of that. But I just wanted to take this moment of joy to thank you for always coming on our episodes and providing so much insight from your reporting. And it's been a pleasure. And I don't know what's next for you, but I just want to say thank you for all of your time that you've put in, not only to reporting, but also with CityCast Houston.
Oh, thank you so much, Raheel. I appreciate that. Yeah, bittersweet, of course, but we're locked in and friends now, so you can't get rid of me that fast.
And that's what I'm talking about. We'll see you on the court, hopefully. And Charles, maybe you're going to meet us out there. Hey, I know you're going to the morning gym sessions, so it's time. Maybe we're getting a pickup game going.
I'll be a spectator. I don't have the skills. I'll just watch. I'll cheer you both on.
Monique, Charles, thank you so much. And an early happy Mother's Day to everybody celebrating, whether you're a mom or a mom figure. If you are a first time on, whatever it may be, have a great weekend, celebrate, and enjoy Sunday. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raheel. Appreciate it.
That was Monique Welch of the Houston Landing with Charles Blain of the Urban Reform Institute. All of the stories we talked about are linked in our show notes. And while you're in the show notes, please subscribe to our daily newsletter, Hey Houston, for more news and things to do this weekend. And before you go on with your day, take a minute and text this episode of CityCast Houston to 3 friends who live inside the loop. Also, drop us a rating and review to let us know how we're doing. And if you're new here or a longtime listener, hit that subscribe button so you can get daily episodes of CityCast Houston in your feed. Thanks. That will do it for this week here on CityCast Houston. Our producer is Carleon Jones. Our newsletter editor is Brooke Lewis. Our executive producer is Laura Isensee, and I'm your host, Raheel Ramzanali. Special thanks this week to our technical director of audio, Noah Snyderman, and ESPN Houston Studios. Our music is by the band All the Kimonos, with additional music by Wendy Marcini and SPD from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. We'll be back on Monday to talk about if the Texas power grid is ready to handle the ups and downs of our wild Houston weather, because I don't want to deal with another power outage this summer. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new.
Yeah, I was reading my... Oh, God, already starting off bad.